Our final presenter is Stefan Lindegaard. Now, Stefan is a Copenhagen-based author, speaker and strategic advisor who focuses on the topics of open innovation, innovation culture and communication of innovators. Stefan has given talks and worked with companies in the US, Europe, Asia and South America. Stefan shares his insights through his blog and has written 4 books, 3 in English and 1 in Danish. When I first started taking interest in open innovation about 3 years ago, I was looking for resources that would help to teach me more about what open innovation meant. And Stefan's 15-in-0 website stood out straight away as being a very rich, accessible, lively resource for all things that related to open innovation. And it seemed to address a lot of the issues that I knew people were asking about. So I'm delighted that Stefan can be with us today. Stefan Lindegaard.
Thank you. It's great to be here. And I might be the last speaker right now, but we do have the panel session later on. And I really hope that you will also get a chance to speak there. We'll try to make that more interactive. On open innovation, I have a good news. And good news is that open innovation actually works. You know, I've been working with this for about 5-7 years now, and I had so many questions. Where's the documentation that this actually works, coming from CEOs, coming from anyone curious and also not so interested in open innovation, but more skeptical? Does it really work? I've been missing this report, these academic reports that actually works, and the reason it took so much time for this to actually come out is that many companies have spent the last 5 years digging into open innovation, and it's just now that we're really starting to see some quantified and qualified results here. And if you're going to check my website, one of the recent posts is this one, Open Innovation Works, Positive Conclusion, in a report by Henry Chesper and Sabine Brunswicker. Some very good news there. And I like this first one. So they did a quite thorough research here. 78% of firms, they now practice open innovation. It's a movement that's actually there now. It's really working. They haven't abandoned this yet. And they're still seeing increased support from the top management. The best answer before this I could give on whether open innovation actually worked was that, well, I've been to so many conferences, and what I keep hearing there is the open innovation leaders, the corporate innovation team, keep saying that we keep investing in open innovation, we keep getting more funds. I cannot really show how it works, but we just got a feeling this is the right way to go. And now we've got some documentation to back it. And what about the adoption of open innovation across different industries? It looks pretty good, actually, especially high-tech and even wholesale, trade and retail is doing this one. I also like this one because I find that innovation in services, including financial services, is quite difficult, to some extent also a bit dangerous, perhaps. We need to be a bit careful there. But you actually see it across the field here. It's really developing quite well. Are people satisfied? That's a very good one to get here. We got about more than 60% are very positive, 5, 6, and 7s, and only very few people actually are not really satisfied with the efforts. It's really taking off. It's really happening now. It also raised a problem for some of you. If you're not already on board, you're way behind, and how can you catch up? And how many of you are actually from universities here, tech transfers? You're way behind. Because your mindset is not really set up for open innovation, and you need to find your role within this ecosystem. I gave a talk at something called ASTP recently, and I think I fell out with 80% of the audience because I'm too provocative here, but I tried to keep the same track here as well, because I think we need to shape up things, and I'm pleased to hear that Brown also said that with his vast experience in these systems, we need to shake out some models here. As part of my talk, it's also part of what we're going to discuss later on. Just one more thing, importance of open innovation partners, establishing this new partnership, new technology trends, new business opportunities. I like the 2 or 3 on there. It's about new partnership and new business opportunities. It's not just about finding the next technology, the next IP, and so forth. It's much more about setting up business opportunities. So this goes into what is open innovation. And you actually helped me on that quite well, Nigel. Thanks for that, because I'm going to bring this one up again. Because I really believe that this is not really about a process. It's not about a methodology. It's more about a mindset. It's a philosophy that you need within your organization. And I mean organization, whether it's a big corporate thing or whether it's a university, you need this kind of thinking that, yes, you have great resources internally, but what could happen, what will happen if you merge these with external resources? If you bring this together and act on those opportunities, you're going to see much better innovation, and you'll get to market much faster. An interesting thing about this one is that you can find so many different definitions on innovation and open innovation. I mean, we could spend 2 hours in this room talking about what innovation is and open innovation is, but it doesn't really matter too much. I really believe 5 to 7 years from now, the two terms are going to merge together, and it's only going to be innovation. And a good example of that is about 10, 12 years ago that the poster boy of open innovation and crowdsourcing, Procter & Gamble, started their initiative. They have a very cool project at that time called Connect and Develop. And they kind of shaped the thinking of Procter & Gamble and developed them over the last 10 years. It's about connecting and then developing together. And what I like about that, when you go and speak with Procter & Gamble, they do not talk about our internal innovation capabilities and then the open innovation or connect and develop activities. When you speak with them, it just merges together. It's just innovation. Hey, it's just how we do things. And I think that we're going to see this in all industries 5 to 7 years from now. That's also important for companies, big companies in particular, because you cannot afford to set up a new unit called open innovation. You need to tie it into your already existing unit and just build from there and make it more open, more transparent. It's not two different things, it's the same thing. And again, the same goes for universities. You cannot separate the two. Why is this important? Well, if you imagine there's a window of opportunity like this one, 5, 7, 10 years ago, it's pretty big and was moving kind of slow like this. And yeah, it would be difficult, but not impossible to hit this window of opportunity for anyone doing innovation. But what's happening today, because of the fast pace of change, the fast pace of business, this window of opportunity is more like this, and it's moving like this. It's become so much more difficult to hit this window of opportunity. Less time to build cash cows as well. If you make a hit on the market, the last generation in terms of business, you say, hey, this could be 3, 4, 5, 7 years. Look at the phone industry today. If you get 1 year with your product as a hit, that's it, maximum. We were talking months now. And you've seen this spill over to so many other industries today. The fast pace of change is just so incredible today. And in order to operate in this world, and what I like to term as being competitively unpredictable, you need open innovation and you need business model innovation. And in short, you need a much more holistic approach to innovation. Just in terms of open innovation, giving ideas is, you can see that you can actually work with this in many different ways, in external input. And I like this one from over innovation because on the bottom line, you have invitations, relative few, or you can go to everyone. On the other one, you can have instructions, no instructions or very directed. And we all know Starbucks, but have any of you actually visited mystarbucksidea.com? Anyone? That's the guy in the back, thank you. Did you submit an idea or did you just visit there? Just visit. Okay, but what you can actually do at My Starbucks Idea is to suggest anything. As you can see, there's no direction and it's open for everyone. So how about getting pink toilet paper for Christmas at Starbucks? Yeah, that'd be a good idea. A new coffee flavor, a new product in general. How about doing something about the process? You can suggest anything. Suggest anything. And they actually have a team of about 10 to 12 people going through all this. And the reason is it's highlighting another important thing on crowdsourcing. Crowdsourcing has been hijacked. It's not being run by innovation departments, it's being run by the marketing department, because crowdsourcing is a great way to interact with customers and have discussions like you see in My Starbucks Idea. So this is more about interaction on a marketing level. But I really urge corporate innovation teams to go in and take that back because it also holds a good potential for real innovation efforts. But the idea of My Starbucks Idea is that you can submit all these things and they'll look at it and they'll also implement some of it. But I think the implementation rate last time I looked into this was 0.00014% or something like that. And they get hundreds of thousands of ideas every year. So it's more about marketing and building the hype around this one. But what if we go to the other end? What if we go to, that was the black one. What if we go to 9 Sigma? Or Innocentive, for example. Some of you probably, just by show of hands, how many of you know about 9 Sigma and Innocentive? Not that many. They are actually innovation intermediaries. Imagine that you have some people over here with a problem They need to get it solved. It could be a company, it could be someone else. And then there are lots of solvers, individual people in general. And they have actually hundreds of thousands, even millions of people in their databases. So what an innovation intermediate does is they match the two with each other on the needs here. And they do it more in a directed way because they can go in and funnel down that challenge that the company has, the problem they need to solve. They can funnel that down to the right kind of people and having the right direction for this one. It's not for everyone. Again, it's much more targeted. The thing is that companies need to find their role in this big picture. They need to find out what they do best. And they also need to go and understand how many value pools there actually are. Especially on the external side, you probably, if you go into any decent sized company, 1,000 plus people actually on that size and up, they'll have 8, 10, 12 different value pools. But their big challenge is they can only handle 2 to 4 of those properly at the same time. And that's actually a big challenge for the universities and for higher education, because what's going to happen here is that, okay, they got so many opportunities, suppliers, venture capitalists, startups, and they're starting to really do open innovation with all these value pools, but they can only perhaps do 2 of them properly at the same time. So they're going to prioritize. And I would actually argue 5 years, 10 years ago, universities were pretty high on this list. They're definitely on the top 5. In some ways, they still are in the top 5, but you're dropping down right now. Universities are dropping down this list because they get so many more options. And the reason they're dropping down is something I can get back to in a little bit, is that you're not very good at trying to become the preferred partner of choice within this ecosystem. And you need to become the preferred partner of choice competing with other universities out there. You need to do things better. I actually want to just skip this. Because I want to get to this example of Clorox, a pretty big US-based company. And what they said when I did some research on these topics is that they actually have very few but very productive partnerships today. And they go with unusual suspects. They actually try to avoid the big colossums of the universities out there, because they found out that the lesser known universities, they're more adaptive to go in and meet the needs of these companies. They're easier to work with. And they also find out, well, perhaps they can get similar kind of knowledge. I'll still say that if you go to King's, UCL, Stanford, MIT, I still believe you got the best brains there, and thus you should also have the best research. But what if it's more difficult to work with these institutions? What if you can make things happen faster with unusual suspects within the university fair? And then you can actually go in and look at some of the things they're looking at here. They're actually going to also things like that, non-arrogant behaviors. Is that even relevant to discuss arrogant behavior within the universities and tech transfers toward businesses? Maybe. Maybe you need to look into that as well. But another example is Unilever. They actually went to Philadelphia University. Excuse me, who the heck ever heard about Philadelphia University? I never did, but they're doing some interesting things. The Sprint Challenge and things with Unilever. It works for them, and they do pretty good things together. So experiment, try new things, and try to become the partner of choices here. One of the challenges that I would like to put into not only big companies, and those are the ones I usually work with, but also the university environment. Do you really have the skills and the mindset needed to take this to the next level? In my view, and again, being a bit provocative, actually quite, because it's a big no, very big no. You just don't have it. I had the pleasure, especially over the last 6 months, to engage with a couple of colleges actually here in the UK, and also some in Denmark, and I have some interactions based off the ASTP conference. That in general, you lack this one. I'm sorry to say so. You don't really have the mindset for this one. And I'm also going to excuse most of you in this room because there's a reason for this, and I'll get back to that later. When I look at open innovation competences, when I look at people who should drive the next generation of innovation, modern innovation, whatever we call it, this is what I look for. And I've been doing business plan competition within corporates several times, and I really believe this could be innovation on steroids. So I've got quite some good experience on actually identifying people who could go in and contribute here. Also, having been an entrepreneur myself, started 3 businesses. When you get to do enough of these things, you can see some characteristics and some traits in people, and you can start identifying them. This is what I like to see today. Of course, you need entrepreneurial skills, and that means you can make things happen. But what is also extremely important today is the broader sense of communication. Being a great networker today is very important. And also strategic influencing, communication skills. Because today it's actually, what was 10 years ago was your key asset, what you knew and what you could bring, what you knew and the real depth of what you had today, that only brings you to the table today. It's only the table stakes. It's so easy to identify those people today because it's so transparent out there. You can find such resources in so many different places around the world today. So what really sets you apart is how you use this and how you make it play. And this is where the communication skills will become important. Moving on here. When I work with companies, and a suggestion for universities as well would be to go in and make an internal readiness overview in terms of open innovation. Is your company, is your organization actually ready for this? What about the people? Do you have an innovative leader? Is the top management group innovative and so forth? How about the culture? What I really look for and try to go and assess is how strong is the networking culture? And if not, how can you build this one even better? What about the tolerance for failure? I mean, today, again, there's so much experimentation and we really want to innovate today. Experimentation brings failure. Are you ready to deal with it? Not really in the corporate sector, because what I would like to see there, the tolerance of failure need to go up and they need to learn from these failures as well. That would be another key point we could talk more about. What about the processes for working with external partners? Is that even in place? How can you improve this? Because you need to continuously improve these things. And this one is quite similar, but there's also the need for education, because what I really see is that it's a key objective for corporate innovation teams today to educate others. And it's not only the employees and the middle managers, it's also educate the executives. And if we take this into your world, how can you educate your leaders? And this is actually where I like to just go on the second point here. These are some of the questions that I look at open innovation in relation to higher education universities today. Who is the real enemy of, in this case, just brought it down to technology transfer offices? Who is the real enemy? And I'm sorry to say so, but that's yourself. You're shooting yourself in your foot big time. It seems to me that you've been doing things for the last 20 years and you keep repeating them. I mean, what is the definition of insanity? Keep doing the same thing over and over again and expecting different results, right? You really need to change how you do things. But the excuse, especially for you guys being in a more operational role, is that it's getting more and more clear to me the big problem is that your leaders simply don't have any clue on how this works. And unfortunately, you guys are stuck in a situation where you have a hard time convincing them that this needs to change, that you need to shake up the models. You have a hard time getting through to them to make them understand what will happen here. We're seeing this much faster in the corporate world today. And what I like about this one is that we're seeing a new generation of executives, 45 to 50 years ago, well, 40 to 45. The reason being they've actually had good education in innovation management. It's interesting to note that it's not even until 1995, about that time, especially guys like Clayton Christensen, most of you know, started actually formal education of leaders, in this case at Harvard and so forth. It's not more than 25, 27 years ago. And we're just starting to see these guys becoming the top guys at the companies and girls. But you got the same problem here at universities, and unfortunately it's going to take even longer because it seems like your leaders are even more stuck in doing things as usual, and it also takes us into the first point. What is the purpose of TTOs? I would like to dig in hard on that one. What is the purpose, and how does this stack up with this new way of doing innovation today? I mean, what is the purpose? Brian, I'd just like to go because you have a background. What is the purpose of TTOs today? Not in the view how you see it, but how universities see this.
By and large, it's to stop IP leakage is one of the things that they would see.
To stop IP leakages?
Yeah. It's interesting what you say. In the business model, in a university environment, people are...
Do you have a microphone?
People are rewarded on the basis of developing IP. Nobody's rewarded for developing disconnect. If you want me to say what the future should be, the TTO should be about managing an ecosystem. That's where it should be going to.
You see why Brian was new best friend, right? I mean, we're pretty much aligned on these things. And he also very elegantly took me to my last point. Why the heck is there so much talk about technology and IPR when the outside world is talking more about business models? And the challenge for TTOs, universities, is to find a place here. Find a place in this ecosystem, understanding the many value pools companies can work with, and then understand how you can become the best university possibility for them to work with out there. And go in and find your role in these business models. So basically, what would I suggest a company or an organization to do? Upgrade innovation mindset and toolbox. It's very tricky, but I would very much like to go and work with the executives here. It's difficult, but it can be done. Identify the types of external input, become preferred partner. Start innovating on how you innovate. I mean, if you need to go from what Brian said, from where you are today to where you need to go next, the only way you can do it is small steps in which you actually experiment and change things along as you go. I don't think you can take this is what you do today, and in the future you need to be about managing ecosystems and get value out of that for everyone. That's not something you say, hey, this is what we need to do, especially not in the university world. You need to take some steps and you need to experiment your way onto that situation. Work with stakeholders, become better communicators. Write about what you're doing as well.